I want to talk about suffering. The Jehovah's Witnesses always talked about how suffering will soon end, right? If you follow them, Jehovah will end your suffering if you make it to the paradise, right? But there's ways to end at least some of your suffering now where the Jehovah's Witnesses are actually contributing to your suffering. Let me explain. So, they talk about in the future God will wipe out every tear from your eye and sickness and will be no more and all that. But they don't promote that now. You think of the blood transfusion thing. They're contributing to suffering by letting people die from not having blood transfusions because of this one scripture where Jesus said we should not eat blood. And they allow people to skip medical treatment and die. And they also, in the past, they've been against therapy and counseling and things like that. They want you to come to the elders. They don't want you to go to professional therapists. I remember right before I left, an elder gave a local needs talk about cannabis oil because that was something that was going around in the congregation as people were using it for healing and stuff like that. And he gave a local needs about how it's still derived from hemp and marijuana and all this stuff. But the brother that gave the talk, the funny part is that he had a really bad speech impediment. And instead of cannabis, he kept calling it cannibalism. Cannibalism. And he kept saying, I remember when he first started the talk, he kind of gave his little introduction, and then he said, as we know, there's an issue with cannibalism or something like that. And I immediately looked around and I thought, I have missed something. I did not know that we had that kind of problem here. But anyway, that was funny to me. He always was messing words up and stuff, and he was the brother that would give you the most counsel, and he couldn't speak the English language to save his life. But anyway, yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they promote suffering. You think about how they don't allow higher education, so it's harder to find a job, and they make these videos of people that are struggling to make ends meet and stuff. Well, if you would let us go get the education to get a decent job, maybe we wouldn't be struggling so hard. I mean, hard times fall on everybody, I get that, but give us a little more of a fighting chance. You want us to give everything we have extra back to the organization. Of course people don't have any money. You know, if they're really following that example, you know, they're pioneering, they're only working 20, 30 hours a week secularly because you want them to pioneer 70 hours a month and then be able to afford to stay alive but give all their extra stuff back to the organization. That's contributing to suffering. That's why a lot of these people feel like they're depressed and they're suffering, and the organization is making them be that way. I remember I had an elder one time tell me that he's on depression medication, and I didn't think anything of it. I figured a lot of people are, but he told me to keep that close to my vest because, you know, if the elders find out that he's taking depression medication, he might not qualify. And I also was told by my brother, who was an elder, that if you step down from being a ministerial servant or an elder because of depression, it's really hard to get reappointed because that's a mental issue. It's just ridiculous. And so they're contributing to anxiety. These people are afraid to say what's really going on with them, and they're suffering, all due to, not all due to the witnesses, but they're definitely encouraging the suffering and not helping with it. That's for sure. And it's funny because I never even really thought about that until I got out, that there are so many more things you can do out there as far as treatment goes that the Jehovah's Witnesses look down on, and they are contributing to your suffrage. Another story is, I think I've told this before, is there was an elder one time that told me not to go around telling everybody that my wife was in school, because my wife was trying to be a nurse. And he said, don't be promoting that, you know, it looks bad. But long story short, he lost his job and he went to school and was telling everybody about it. But anyway, it's just so silly, the things I look back on now and see what was really going on. So tell me your thoughts.